The theme for tonight is Onward Spiritual Progress, and the readings will be given by Amanda from Missouri.
I will read from the Bible. Psalms. The Lord is my rock, and my fortress, and my deliverer. My God, my strength, in whom I will trust. My buckler, and the horn of my salvation, and my high tower. For thou wilt light my candle. The Lord my God will enlighten my darkness. Thou hast given me the shield of salvation. I have pursued mine enemies and overtaken them. Neither did I turn again till they were consumed. Isaiah. Thus saith God the Lord, He that created the heavens and stretched them out. I, the Lord, have called thee in righteousness, and will hold thine hand, and will keep thee. And I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. I will lead them in paths that they have not known. I will make darkness light before them, and crooked things straight. These things will I do unto them, and not forsake them. Matthew. And it came to pass, as Jesus sat at meat in the house, behold, many publicans and sinners came and sat down with him and his disciples. Then came to him the disciples of John, saying, Why do we and the Pharisees fast oft, but thy disciples fast not? And Jesus said unto them, No man putteth a piece of new cloth unto an old garment, or that which is put in to fill it up taketh from the garment, and the rent is made worse. Neither do men put new wine into old bottles, else the bottles break, and the wine runneth out, and the bottles perish. But they put new wine into new bottles, and both are preserved. And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him, and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic, and sore vexed. For oft times he falleth into the fire, and oft into the water. And I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him. And the child was cured from that very hour. Then came the disciples to Jesus apart, and said, Why could not we cast him out? And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit, this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting. Verily I say unto you, except ye be converted, and become as little children, ye shall not enter into the kingdom of heaven. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Romans. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. Philippians. Worship God in the Spirit, and rejoice in Christ Jesus, and have no confidence in the flesh. Brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those things which are before. I press toward the mark for the prize of the high calling of God in Christ Jesus. I will now read correlative passages from Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures and from Prose Works by Mary Baker Eddy. Being is holiness, harmony, immortality. It is already proved that a knowledge of this, even in small degree, will uplift the physical and moral standard of mortals, will increase longevity, will purify and elevate character. Thus progress will finally destroy all error and bring immortality to light. Progress is spiritual. Progress is the maturing conception of divine love. It demonstrates the scientific, sinless life of man and mortal's painless departure from matter to spirit, not through death, but through the true idea of life, and life not in matter, but in mind. Divine science does not put new wine into old bottles, soul into matter, nor the infinite into the finite. Our false views of matter perish as we grasp the facts of spirit. The old belief must be cast out, or the new idea will be spilled, and the inspiration, which is to change our standpoint, will be lost. Now, as of old, truth casts out evils and heals the sick. When we come to have more faith in the truth of being than we have in error, more faith in spirit than in matter, more faith in living than in dying, more faith in God than in man, then no material suppositions can prevent us from healing the sick and destroying error. In the 17th chapter of the Gospel according to St. Matthew, we read that even the disciples of Jesus once failed mentally to cure by their faith and understanding a violent case of lunacy. And because of this, Jesus rebuked them. Also, he added, "This kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting," refraining from admitting the claims of the senses. Though the divine rebuke is effectual to the pulling down of sin strongholds, it may stir the human heart to resist truth, before this heart becomes obediently receptive of the heavenly discipline. If the Christian Scientist recognized the mingled sternness and gentleness which permeate justice and love. He will not scorn the timely reproof, but will so absorb it that this warning will be within him a spring, welling up into unceasing spiritual rise and progress. Willingness to become as a little child and to leave the old for the new renders thought receptive of the advanced idea. Gladness to leave the false landmarks and joy to see them disappear. This disposition helps to precipitate the ultimate harmony. The purification of sense and self is a proof of progress. There is neither place nor opportunity in science for error of any sort. Every day makes its demands upon us for higher proofs rather than professions of Christian power. These proofs consist solely in the destruction of sin, sickness, and death by the power of Spirit, as Jesus destroyed them. This is an element of progress, and progress is the law of God, whose law demands of us only what we can certainly fulfill. You will learn that in Christian Science, the first duty is to obey God, to have one mind, and to love another as yourself. Love is the principle of divine science, and love is not learned of the material senses, nor gained by a culpable attempt to seem what we have not lifted ourselves to be, namely, a Christian. In love for man, we gain a true sense of love as God, and in no other way can we reach this spiritual sense and rise, and still rise, to things most essential and divine. What hinders man's progress is his vain conceit, the Pharisaism of the times, also his effort to steal from others and avoid hard work, errors which can never find a place in science. Self-ignorance, self-will, self-righteousness, lust, covetousness, envy, revenge are foes to grace, peace, and progress. They must be met manfully and overcome, or they will uproot all happiness. The increasing necessity for relying on God to defend us against the subtler forms of evil turns us more unreservedly to Him for help, and thus becomes a means of grace. If one lives rightly, every effort to hurt one will only help that one, for God will give the ability to overcome whatever tends to impede progress. He alone ascends the hill of Christian Science, who follows the way-shower, the spiritual presence and idea of God. Whatever obstructs the way, causing to stumble, fall, or faint those mortals who are striving to enter the path, divine love will remove, and uplift the fallen, and strengthen the weak. Therefore, give up thy earth weights, and observe the apostles' admonition, forgetting those things which are behind, and reaching forth unto those which are before. Then, loving God supremely, and thy neighbor as thyself, thou wilt safely bear thy cross up to the throne of everlasting glory.